Hello and welcome to the Wren Team Folk Festival Concert 2020 Wren around Devon. And John and I are taking a trip around Devon so that we can show you some of the places that relate to some of the songs that we'll be singing this afternoon. And we start here at Lew Trenchard in the graveyard, and we're at the graveside of the Reverend Sabine Baring-Gould and his wife Grace. The Baring-Gould folk song collection is one that we've drawn on mostly for the repertoire for this concert, and so we felt it was very fitting, and especially since for the last 20 years our folk festival has been dedicated to Sabine Baring-Gould. Our first song is a version that we've collated from different versions in the Baring-Gould song collection, and they've come from all over Devon, mostly from Dartmoor, but also contributed by a correspondent, Priscilla Wire-Edgell, who sent in some of the words and some of the tune. She collected from an unknown woman at Upton Pine near Exeter. And this is a song that was responsible in the 1970s for introducing lots of people to folk music, and this is our version of All Around My Hat.
All around my hat I will wear the green willow, all around my hat for a 12-month and a day. And if anyone should ask me the reason why I wear it, I'll tell them my true love is far, far away. All around my hat I will wear the green willow, all around my hat for a 12-month and a day. And if anyone should ask me the reason why I wear it, I'll tell them my true love is far, far away. Fare ye well, cold winter, and fare ye well, cold frost. Nothing have I gained but my own true love I've lost. I will sing and I'll be merry and clap my hands with glee, and I'll rest when I'm weary, letting go, farewell he. All around my hat I will wear the green willow, all around my hat for a 12-month and a day. And if anyone should ask me the reason why I wear it, I'll tell them my true love is far, far away. Last fall my true love brought me a pretty diamond ring. I know he thought me a vain and foolish thing, but he's so deceitful to win my heart from me. He will prove a false lover, let him go, farewell he. All around my hat I will wear the green willow, all around my hat for a 12-month and a day. And if anyone should ask me the reason why I wear it, I'll tell them my true love is far, far away. Far away. To half a pound of reason you add half a grain of sense, a sprig of time in season, and as much again of prudence, and you mix them all together, and then you're plainly seen. He's a false, deluding young man, let him go, farewell he. All around my hat I will wear the green willow, all around my hat for a 12-month and a day. And if anyone should ask me the reason why I wear it, I'll tell them my true love is far, far away. All around my hat I will wear the anyone should ask me the reason why I wear it, I'll tell them my true love is far, far away.
Well, some people, when they come to the festival, they don't always want to join in the morning workshop. So in the last couple of years, we've had a walk around Oakhampton, finding the hidden places. And this is one of the hidden places of Oakhampton. It's behind the little supermarket, but it's a place where the two Ockmont rivers meet. Oakhampton has got two rivers, the West and East Ockmont, and they meet here and then they flow north till they join the River Torridge. Now Nick's going to play a tune for you now, dedicated to the River Torridge. The Wren Music Folk Festival happens every year on the fourth Saturday in October. And here we are on a beautiful autumn day here in West Devon. And we're just beside the Forgotten Garden down at Lew Trenchard Manor. This is the home of Sabine Baring-Gould. And I thought this was a fitting place to introduce Hannah's song, which is called The Land Remains, a poem written by George Withers of Somerset. And George joined us in the festival some years ago. And this is a fabulous setting of his poem with a tune by Hannah.
place where I was born. It was full of cows and heifers then, and pigs and sheep and corn. The country scene is changing, the folks are changing too, and the farming's very different from the farming that I knew. So love or hate the system, whoever holds the reins, let others learn. We've had our time, and still the land remains. No geese are on the village green, no ponies are on the moors, no cockerels on the dunghill now, the hens are all indoors. The school's become a second home, the pub is closing down, and the village shop just can't compete with Tesco in the town. So love or hate the system, whoever holds the reins, let others learn. We've had our time, and still the land remains. The dairy herd is long dispersed, the quota's out on lease, the farmhouse sold to clear the debts, to please the mortgagees. Well, Daddy drives a lorry now, and Mum does B&Bs, and I'll send me on the new estate beyond the churchyard trees. So love or hate the system, whoever holds the reins, let others learn. We've had our time, and still the land remains. There's new folk in the old place now, we don't know what they do. There's something in computers and a real nice fellow too. They come to village functions, just join the WI, but they've not much clue as to what to do, but it must be said they try. So love or hate the system, whoever holds the reins, let others learn. We've had our time, and still the land remains. Well, the garden's gravelled over, it's a TV gardener's dream, with flowers in terracotta pots and a switch on wildlife stream. The mockery of what was there before, and the polystyrene straddle stones, well, they're the final straw. So love or hate the system, whoever holds the reins, let others learn. We've had our turn, and still the land remains. No rows of spots or carrots now, no runner beans or peas, no cabbages, no rhubarb, no children climbing trees. There's a 4x4 for Daddy, an Audi for his wife. There's lots of country living, but there's no real country life. So love or hate the system, whoever holds the reins, let others learn. We've had our time, and still the land remains. Now the dawn still rises in the east, the sun still sinks in the west. We come, we try, we live, we die. We work, we eat, we rest. So love or hate the system, whoever holds the reins, let others learn. We've had our time, and still the land. So love or hate the system, whoever holds the reins, let others learn. We've had our time, and still the land remains.
So we're outside Ebenezer Hall, which is the home of Wren. It's been the home of Wren for the last 6 years or so. It's a great place for all the team to meet and come together and share lots of creative ideas and start projects. One of the wonderful team is Rosa Rebecca. She's going to be playing the next song, which is called Out of Silence, which is a song that she's written all about hope.
Out of darkness, each dawn must rise, lighting with its heart's glow the shadowy skies. Out of silence, each song must ring. Hear your voice's absence and the grow, climbing out of the dark soil where it was sown, where it was sown. Out of stillness, birds learn how to fly, claiming with each wingbeat the songs of the dawnlit sky.
We've come to the seaside now to remind ourselves that Devon is more than Dartmoor, and uniquely in England has got two coastlines, the north and the south. And also to remind ourselves that Devon, that the West Country is more than just Devon, and that the songs from the surrounding counties also have an influence on us. And the land itself is more than the county boundary. And we've come here now to Budleigh, to a piece of land that unites Devon and Dorset. We're on the Jurassic coast. And the first song we're going to sing from this point of view is really linked to the Jurassic coast because contains a story of Mary Anning, the fossil hunter from Lyme Regis. This song, Women of Stone, was written by myself and Sarah for the Her Story project, and it's sung by Sarah and me.
Women of earth, women of stone, claiming the future, reclaiming the past, making alive all of their own, finding the secrets held fast. We can be like these women of stone, claim the future, reclaim the past. Eleanor Cole, the stoneworker and sculptor, successful in business, ahead of her day, moulding and firing to find hidden beauty. She built for us monuments made out of clay. Women of earth, women of stone, claiming the future, reclaiming the past, making alive all of their own, finding the secrets held fast. We can be like these women of stone, claim the future, reclaim the past. Young Mary Anning, beachcombing for fossils, distinguished among the women of science. Dinosaur finds gave her fame the world over, searching for answers and knowledge of life. Women of earth, women of stone, claiming the future, reclaiming the past, making alive all of their own, finding the secrets held fast. We can be like these women of stone, claim the future, reclaim the past. These hard-working women from the town of Lyme Regis, carving their lives with head, heart and hand. Their names lost to many, but their gifts still survive in the things that they made from stone, clay and sand. Women of earth, women of stone, claiming the future, reclaiming the past.
finding the secrets held fast. We can be like these women of stone, claim the future, reclaim the past.
Well, here we are round the back of Ebenezer Hall, the home of Wren music. And in this little tiny graveyard, we've got the descendants of Tom Pearce of Widdicombe Fair fame. This cross is dedicated to a John Pearce, and there's another one to somebody called Elizabeth Pearce. It's also the home of the Paul Wilson Sound Archive. Now, Paul spent the 1970s travelling around Devon collecting folk songs from all sorts of people, including the Travellers. And this is a song he collected from Nelson Penfold in southern Devon, and it's called The Trees They Do Grow High.
The trees they do grow high, and the leaves they do grow green. The time has gone and passed, my love, that you and I have seen. It's a cold and a bitter night, my love, when I must lie alone. For my bonny boy was young, but a-growing. Oh, father, dearest father, you've done to me much wrong. You've married me to a bonny boy, and I fear that he's too young. Oh, daughter, dearest daughter, if you'll only wait a while, the lady you shall be while he's growing. We'll send your love to college for 1 year or 2, and when he does come back again, then he might do for you. For the younger the better, if you only wait a while, for your bonny boy is young, but a-growing. She went down to the college, she looked in over the wall. There were 24 bonny boys, all playing with the ball. She asked for her own true love, the fairest of them all, for Billy boy was young, but a-growing. At the age of 16, he was a married man. At the age of 17, he was the father of a son. And at the age of 18 years, his grave was growing green. Cruel death had put an end to his growing. I will weave my love a shroud of the holland so fine, and every stitch I put in it, the tears they will roll down. I will weep and I will mourn him until the day I die. For my bonny boy is gone now forever.
A few years ago, we did a show inspired by the fact that Sabine Baring-Gould had written the definitive book of werewolves. When we examined English folk culture, we found that there weren't so many wolves in it, but there were quite a few foxes. So we've come to Hound Tour today to tell you that this next song is Mr. Fox, sung by Sarah Owen, and a song written by John Pole.
Outside Mr. Fox's garden, 3 maids playing with a golden ball. Jenny threw it up and Susan caught it. Mary bounced it over the wall. The wall is high. Mr. Fox has a little push it back again. The garden gate stood open wide. Suddenly it was locked and bolted. Mr. Fox stood just inside. The wall is high, the grasses shiver, and the tall trees sigh. He said, I'll keep your ball, Miss Mary. I shall have it until you'll stay. You shall keep my house and be my servant. Never stir out for a year and a day. The wall is high, his smile is cruel, and his eyes are sly. Spring and summer passed like shadows. She watched green leaves fade and fall. She walked alone in the empty garden. Mr. Fox said nothing at all. The wall is high, never a soul goes near nor by. 3 strange things he did forbid her. Never you touch my iron box. Never go near the 13th bedroom, nor near the bed, said Mr. Fox. The wall is high, don't you dare to ask me why. Mary, she rose up one morning. She found an iron box on a shelf. But of all the rooms at Mr. Fox's bedrooms, there were only 12. The wall is high, Mary, don't you peep or pry. One day Mr. Fox went walking. In that box she found a key. It fitted a door she'd never unfastened. When she opened it, what did she see? The wall is high, the lock said stop, but the key said fly. In Mr. Fox's 13th bedroom, a naked sword hung on the wall. In a silver bowl on the bed's black counterpane, Mary saw a golden ball. The wall is high, the bed said come, but the sword said die. In she ran to fetch her ball, to snatch it off the great black bed. Out jumped Mr. Fox and he leapt at her. Teeth shone white and eyes flashed red. The wall is high.
Okay, so next up we've got a tune written by myself. This is a tune I wrote a couple of years ago for an album that I was recording. And it's a tune called Theo, which is named after this very energetic dog that I met once. So this is it. I hope you enjoy it.
Well, we're here at Postbridge, one of the most iconic places on Dartmoor, and we're about halfway through our concert now. Baring-Gould spent a lot of time around about this area of the moor, Postbridge, Two Bridges, Widdicombe. One of the songs we dug out of the archives for the Gothic Dartmoor show was a version of John Barleycorn. And so we thought we'd introduce it here because it's an amalgamation of several versions from this part of the moor.
There rode 3 kings from out the west, their courage for to try, and they have sworn a solemn oath John Barleycorn should die. With a rifle, diddle-olly-day, rifle-olly-day. They took a plough and ploughed him in, laid clods upon his head, and they have sworn a solemn oath John Barleycorn was dead. With a rifle, diddle-olly-day, rifle-olly-day. And he lay sleeping in the ground till rain from heaven did fall. Then Barleycorn put up his head and sore amazed them all. With a rifle, diddle-olly-day, rifle-olly-day. There he remained till midsummer, but looked both pale and wan, when Barleycorn then grew his beard, and so was called a man. With a rifle, diddle-olly-day, rifle-olly-day. They took their scythes, both cruel and sharp, to cut him at the knee, and then poor Johnny Barleycorn was served most barbarously. With a rifle, diddle-olly-day, rifle-olly-day. They took unto them holly clubs to beat the flesh from his bones. The miller served him worst of all, he ground him between 2 stones. With a rifle, diddle-olly-day, rifle-olly-day. Oh, Barleycorn's the choicest grain that e'er was sown on land. It will do more than any grain by the turning of your hand. With a rifle, diddle-olly-day, rifle-olly-day. 'Twill make a boy into a man, and a man into an ass. 'Twill change your gold to silver, and your silver into brass. With a rifle, diddle-olly-day, rifle-olly-day. You can put the sack into the glass and claret in the can, but Barleycorn and his nut brown ale will prove the stronger man. With a rifle, diddle-olly-day, rifle-olly-day, rifle, diddle-olly-day, rifle-olly-day.
You may have noticed that John and I are wearing these rather lovely badges, Wren badges. These are the Wren Folk Badge. And today, some lucky recipients of the Wren Folk Badge will be receiving their badges in the post. They joined in the Wren Folk Badge course on the Wren online community, and they did all sorts of research into how to improve their playing, where folk songs come from, and all sorts of different influences on what we regard as folk music today. And I think they all had a lovely time and they learned so much. So they'll be getting their badges today in the post, so congratulations to them.
Next up we have the song called The Lover's Task. Again, this is from Paul, myself, Hannah and Marilyn, who did the Gothic Dartmoor show. And this is a song collected by Baron Gould, and it's of the traditional song of Scarborough Fair, another version of that.
Oh, are you going to Scarborough Fair? Savoury sage, rosemary and thyme. Remember me to one who lives there. For once she was a true lover of mine. Oh, tell her to make me a cambric shirt. Savoury sage, rosemary and thyme, and stitch it without any needlework, and then she'll be a true lover of mine. And tell her to wash it in yonder dry well. Savoury sage, rosemary and thyme, that never sprung water nor drop of rain fell. And then she'll be a true lover of mine. Then tell her to bleach it on yonder grass. Savoury sage, rosemary and thyme, where never a foot nor a hoof did pass. And then she'll be a true lover of mine. Tell her to dry it on a white floor. Savoury sage, rosemary and thyme, that never had blossomed since Adam was born. And then she'll be a true lover of mine. Tell him to find me an acre of land. Savoury sage, rosemary and thyme, between the salt water and the sea sand. And then he'll be a true lover of mine. Tell him to plough it with a ram's horn. Savoury sage, rosemary and thyme, and sow it all over with one peppercorn. And then he'll be a true lover of mine. Tell him to reap it with a sickle of leather. Savoury sage, rosemary and thyme, and tie it all up with a peacock's feather. And then he'll be a true lover of mine. Tell him to thrash it in yonder barn. Savoury sage, rosemary and thyme, that hangs to the sky with a thread of yarn. And then he'll be a true lover of mine. Tell him to put it in a bottomless sack. Savoury sage, rosemary and thyme, and bear to the mill on a butterfly's back. And then he'll be a true lover of mine. And when he has done and finished his work, savoury sage, rosemary and thyme, tell him to come for that cambric shirt. And then he'll be a true lover of mine.
We're now possibly at the closest we can get to the source of any of the songs we're singing, because this is the grave of young Kitty J. And I've written her story into a song called Jay's Grave.
I lie here at rest 'neath this mound of soil, all alone and so lonely, oh, free at last from a life full of toil, as the flowers they bloom in the valley, oh. A poor orphan girl with no family, no home, all alone and so lonely, oh, put out as a drudge to work on a farm, as the flowers they bloom in the valley, oh. A man at the farm forced himself upon me, all alone and so lonely, oh, the shame was too much for me to bear, as the flowers they bloom in the valley, oh. Being with child was my only crime, all alone and so lonely, oh, I took my own life hanging from a beam, as the flowers they bloom in the valley, oh. No pipes and no drums to lead me on my way, all alone and so lonely, oh, to this miserable plot at Four Cross Lane, as the flowers they bloom in the valley, oh. Even in death I am not left in peace, all alone and so lonely, oh, and mystery haunts my resting place, as the flowers they bloom in the valley, oh. Now pilgrims they come and they bring offerings, all alone and so lonely, oh, of flowers and charms and all manner of things, as the flowers they bloom in the valley, oh. What power do they think that a poor girl can have, all alone and so lonely, oh, whose bones lie within this sad moorland grave, as the flowers they bloom in the valley, oh. Respect for all women is the vigil we keep, all alone and so lonely, oh, and at Jay's grave we remember and weep, as the flowers they bloom in the valley, oh.
Here we are back on the coast of Budleigh Salterton. I'm now looking at Dorset, and this next tune is from Dorset. This is a tune collected in Dorset, and it's a tune called Awake Awake. And it gives me great pleasure to introduce Anna, who will be singing this, who is a new member for Wren Music. So this is Awake Awake.
Awake, awake, you drowsy traitor. Awake, rise, it's almost day. How could you sleep such treacherous slumber when you have all my heart away? You learned my secrets, warmed in comfort, but left me cold now, so it seems. You left me crying, my waking dreams. Farewell, my friends, farewell, my family. I am bound while he goes free. I will go down to your far white mountain, where the air is thin and you cannot see. I thought I heard your voice shouting. I thought I heard you loud and clear, but it was just a faithless echo. You were nothing I could call dear. I loved his face, I loved his body, I loved his voice when he sang with me, and every day bought and brandy to toast his name in a glass of three. Now take my heart, I do not need it. I'm through with love, I'm safe alone. I will go down to that far white mountain and watch your beauty turn to stone, and watch your beauty turn to stone.
And here we are at William Andrews' grave. William Andrews was a fiddle player and that Bear and Gould collected lots and lots of tunes from. There's a story that Bear and Gould was round collecting tunes from William one day, and then the vicar came round for tea and they had to cut it short. So who knew what would happen if the vicar didn't come round for tea? So the tunes we're going to be playing are Mole in the Wad and Old Adam the Poacher. Mull in the Wad. A mull is a type of maggot, is a maggot, and a wad is what they used to stick in the end of their muskets, and you didn't want a maggot in that. And then we're going to look at Old Adam the Poacher, which is a very famous tune now. It's played all over the place, had lots of different recordings made from different folk artists, and it's a very iconic Dartmoor tune. So I hope you enjoy.
Thank you.
Okay, so here we are in Lew Trenchard Church. Next up we've got a song from the Gothic Dartmoor tour that Paul, Marilyn, Hannah and myself did a couple of years ago. And this is a song called The Deaf and the Lady, which is inspired by the Black Death. And this song was collected by Baring Gould as well. So I hope you enjoy it.
As I walked out one day, on in the merry month of May, when birds do sing and lambs do play, I met a man all on the way.
His head was bald, his beard was grey, his coat was of a metal green. I asked of him what was his name, and what strange place from which he came.
My name is Death, why don't you see? Lords, dukes and ladies bow down to me. I turn my glass, the sands are run, I gather all men one by one. I have no heart within my breast, I never weary, never rest, for I am of the branchy tree, and you, lady, must come with me. I'll give you gold and jewels rare, I'll give you costly clothes to wear. Oh no, says he, you must not stay, your sand is run, you must away. In 6 months after the maid was dead, and on her tomb the words were said, here lies a poor distressed maid, by death and death alone betrayed, by death and death alone betrayed.
So here we are back at Hound Tour with another song about a fox, but this is a very evil fox, but some say more like a vampire. This is a song called The Wren and Dyne, sung by Sarah and Paul.
One evening as I rambled among the springing thyme, I overheard a young woman
Conversing with Wren and dyne. Her hair was black, her eyes
were blue, her mouth was red as wine, and he smiled as he looked upon them, did the sly bold Wren and dyne.
She said, young man, be civil, my company forsake, for in my good opinion I feel you are some rake.
He says, my dear, I am no rake, brought up in Venus' train, but I'm searching for concealment all from the judge's man. Her cherry cheeks and ruby lip, they lost their former dye, and she fell into his arms there, all on the mountain high. They hadn't kissed but once or twice, till she came to again, and modestly she asked him, "Pray tell to me your name." He says, "If by chance you look for me, by chance shall not be found, but I'll be in my castle, you inquire for Wren or dyne." Day and night she followed him, his teeth did brightly shine, and he led her over the mountain, did the sly bold Wren or dyne.
The thing about being one of the last folk festivals in the year is you sometimes have the weather to contend with, which is why most of our venues are indoors and within easy walking distance of each other in Oakhampton. It's a great pleasure for me now to introduce one of the new members of the Wren team, Jenny Reid. Jenny works with our orchestras programme, and she's going to do a step dance for us. So we're here in South Taunton, the home of Bob Can, who did so much to revive Dartmoor step dancing. So take it away, Jenny. Well, we're coming to the end of our concert this afternoon, and John and I have come to this very high part of Dartmoor on the road between Two Bridges and Post Bridge and the Warren House Inn. Our final song is probably one of the most famous Dartmoor legends, and what's so interesting about this Dartmoor legend for me is that it doesn't relate to a long time ago. It relates to motorised transport. It's the story of the hairy hand. So the whole Wren team have joined together to sing you this little song, and with this we say goodbye, and we hope to see you in person next year at the Wren Music Folk Festival in Oakhampton.
Well, here we are in Oakhampton, and unfortunately, because there is no folk festival this year, but here we are. I've got the Conkers, I've still got the Conkers, and oh, you can come past, don't you worry about us, that's fine. Anyway, it's a Conker competition. We've been doing it for years and years now, probably since the very first festival. And I won it. I beat a chap called Vic Legg, who's very well known chap from down in Cornwall. It was a bit of a Devon and Cornwall battle, really. But in the end, I trod on his Conker, and that was the end of that. And as a reward, they said to me, well, Bill, I can't speak with this thing on. They said, well, Bill, they said, that sounds better. What we'll do, what you can do next year is organise it yourself, and I've been doing it ever since. I have to string the Conkers. I go and get the Conkers from a tree that I know locally. There aren't that many trees on Dartmoor. Horse chestnuts aren't a tree of Dartmoor, so I have to go down into South Zeal to get the trees, the Conkers from the trees. And it is a lovely tree. I don't have to look anywhere else because no one else takes the conkers from the tree. And they fall in about, well, from the sort of early October, right through October, these conkers fall. And so it's obviously the right time. The conker season is in October. They stay on the ground for quite a long time, so if you want to go into November, you can still find conkers and have a go. Because the people come here, they're not regular conker bashers, the rules are very simple. Well, I say to them, I do all the conkers, you can't bring your own conker, because some devilish people, what they do is they bake them in the oven, or they soak them in vinegar. These are little old tricks that have been known for years and years and years. It is a very, very old English tradition. And it's not really known abroad. I don't know. People might say that it is. They might do it in France. But I know for a fact that when we had some lovely people over from Sardinia, they were really surprised. And they have got horse chestnut trees in Sardinia, but they never played conkers. Now that is surprising, because the first thing you do when you find a conker, you think, well, what can I do with that? You can't eat it. It's not a sweet chestnut. But you can put a bit of string through it and bash hell out of each other's conkers. Now the idea, like I said, there's no real rules, except we say, I give them all a conker, the people will come here, the place will be crowded of conquerors, and you hold it like that. And they decide who starts. Usually it's the youngest, because that makes it easy. In fact, that probably is a rule where you say the youngest can start. Now, they then have the conker and they hold it like that, and they've got to hold it still. So there's another rule. You've got to hold. You can't move it around while the other person is trying to. Your conker's got to stay still. Then the other person has a conker, and conkers have got different names. That's what I would call a round one, a spherical one. And this is called a flat one, and that is known as a cheese cutter. It's how they grow in the surround of the conker. Anyway, so, now I've got the cheese cutter. I'm not sure if cheese cutters are better. Some people like them, some people don't. And you go whack like that, and you hit the conker. Now, that conker fell on the ground. So here comes another rule. The third rule is that if your conker falls on the ground like that, then the other person, or the person who is done the striking, can stamp on that conker. And that's quite a useful rule, because the conker preliminaries only last probably a half an hour. And so half an hour actually playing conkers is quite a long time. And if you're not very good at it, then it can be a real relief to one person to let the other person stamp on their conker so they can go and have a pint of beer or a dance in the hall. Now anyway, that's how it works. And you've got one person, like I say, holding their conker, the other person hitting it, and now it would be the turn of the other person. They have one go each. Some people say it should be 3 goes each, but sometimes the conker breaks so quick that will give the other person no chance at all. But if they like playing their conkers and they lose, then they can come back to me, and I have so many conkers every year. Believe me, I have a lot of conkers, and then Charlie brings some up from down Lifton Way. So we probably have something like 200 conkers. And it's really good, and people do enjoy doing it. So now it's the turn of the person with the cheese cutter conker to hold it, and the round conker will now try and hit the cheese cutter. Oh, and it's fallen on the ground again. So there we are. That's the way it goes. And in the end, the conker will break. The conker usually breaks around that area, or where the string has come through on the soft conker. And that'll crack, and sometimes the conker comes off the string. Well, so you've got to keep watching that end to make sure it's all right. Other people do have rules. There's one about strings. So if you're holding a conker like that, and and a string tangles up like that, you can pull the other person's conker off their string, unless they say strings. As soon as they say strings, then any sort of wrestling about with the strings and pulling and hauling, that stops. You have to stop, otherwise you'll be disqualified. I don't think anybody has ever been disqualified for any of the rules at all. When somebody wins a conker match, they put a knot into their string, just a little half hitch like that in their string. So that's now a oneer. And if they win two, that would be a twoer. When somebody has got two, probably four knots in the end, in their string, then it's a very good idea to stop, because you don't want to damage your conker anymore. What happens then is I shout out, has anybody got a twoer? People put their hands up. Anybody got a threeer? And maybe two people will put their hand up and say, yes, I've got a threeer, or I've got a threeer. Anyway, those two people, after half an hour, the two with the most knots in their string, go into the hall in front of all the people inside and play off the final. And they win a prize. They win a prize, and it's a trophy to keep for the year, and an envelope with something in it. I've never actually worked out what's in the envelope. I've never been told. But in fact, the notcher is the trophy, and it's a beautiful bit of carved wood and painted, and people are very proud to hang it into their front room above the mantelpiece. And it's got all the conkers of previous years, previous winners on this notcher. So it's a trophy about this long, and it's absolutely beautiful. Now, to string a conker, you need a bit of string. I usually get this, it's a fairly soft string. You don't want a sort of string that's too hard, because it cuts into the conker. And so, like I say, I'm doing it for everybody. I do all the strings. And I use this fairly soft twine. And then you need your conker. What you do with a conker is you get a skewer, or I use an electric drill because I've got to do lots of them. Put it on a board, drill through the conker, one end through that piece there, which is the sort of hard casing, through to the bottom, which is soft casing, and then tie a knot in the end of the string, thread it through the hole, and the knot goes on the soft piece through, so the top of the conker, as you're holding it, is that hard little casing there. And that gives it protection. If you do it the other way round, well, you might win, but I think that this is the accepted way of doing it. That's all I've got to say about conkers, really. Now, what we want you all to do, or as many of you as can, to get out, you might have your conkers already for all I know, but go and get a conker, go and string it. Be careful when you're stringing it, skewers, don't put it through your hand, especially if you're a fiddle player or something like that. And string it like I've just said, told you to do it, and go and have a game of conkers. Now, you can video that game of conkers, and you can send it in, send it over to Wren, and we'll put the video up on this weekend's festival, virtual festival. We'd love to see as many as we can, and it is really good fun, good amusement, and you'll enjoy doing it, I'm sure. Thank you very much.